Most people adapt to the world, and you kind of decided to rebuild it in a sense that worked for you and worked for your family and worked for your son. What you're doing is you're very niche market, like you're very hyper-focused on helping children who need a place to be where they can be with others.
When I first opened up We Rock, I looked at my family and what my family needed. How many kids are being diagnosed with autism? How many kids are being diagnosed with Down syndrome? How many kids are being diagnosed with other neuro and physical diversities? That's what I looked at.
Dina, first of all, super happy to have you on. But the big question that remains is you didn't start out to have a global franchise. You just wanted to help your son out.
Exactly.
How did that turn into the movement that it's turned into?
Wow, that's a big question. I opened up the first We Rock the Spectrum because it was magic. I basically had the first one in my home, and it was unbelievable, the difference that it made. It was all of a sudden overnight, Gabriel was sleeping better. He was eating better. He was interacting with his sister, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was life-changing for him and for us. The whole, if you're a parent out there, then you know that, those beginning months where you get no sleep, it feels like, oh my God, this is torture. We had that for 4 years before being on this kind of equipment. So once we saw the, incredible progress that Gabriel was, having, and then of course, just even, his sister, siblings are greatly affected by, their brother or their sister's diagnosis as well. So I really opened up We Rock just as much for her too. I said to, their dad, I'm like, listen, I just really feel like we have to pay it forward. Occupational therapy is $150 an hour. And Gabriel needed to have OT really 3 to 5 hours a day. So who could afford that, right? So I decided to open up the first We Rock in Tarzana, and it was unbelievable. It was incredible for our family. I mean, basically we lived there for those first couple of years. But then after hearing so many people just saying, oh my God, when are you going to open one here? How come you haven't opened here? I'm like, okay, well, we're not a franchise. I'm just this little mom and pop, okay, in this small building here for our community. But then as the years progressed, I mean, again, my heart, I said, you know what, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. And of course, Gabriel and Sophia's dad was like, are you nuts? What do you know about owning, a kids gym franchise? I'm like, nothing, but I know what it's done for our kids. I know what it's done for our community. And about 3 weeks after we opened, I had a franchise developer knock on the gym door. We were closed. Okay. I didn't know he was a franchise developer, obviously, but he came knocking on my door. And, of course, when you see a tall man without a child, you kind of get alerted coming into a kid's gym place. I'm like, excuse me, sir, can I help you? And he said, what is this place? And I'm like, okay, well, who are you? And he said, well, what do you do here? Are you like my gym? And I was like, no, we're not like my gym. We're very different. We're an indoor sensory gym, which means all the equipment we have is occupational therapy based equipment. And it's for all kids of all abilities and all needs. I love this idea. Well, I'm actually a franchise developer. This is 3 weeks after I opened, mind you. I'm actually a franchise developer. And I'd love to take this concept to LA to the expo. I was looking at Gabriel's dad and he's like, okay, don't even think about it. We just spent tens of thousands of dollars opening up, We Rock there. But I said, thank you very much. We actually just opened up about 3 weeks ago. So if you look when We Rock was trademarked, it was actually probably maybe a week after that, because of course we said goodbye, but then the entrepreneur in me was like, maybe I've actually thought of something that, there's nothing else like in other places. I mean, that can't be right. So I knew nothing about franchising. I knew nothing about trademarks. So I called up an attorney. They're like, yeah, you want to pay me $900? I'll run a check on your name. And so we did. And then he came back and said, there's nothing else like this. You really should trademark. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, basically, no one can use your name, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So you paid the man some more money and then we trademarked. But I waited for almost 3 years before I became a franchise. And again, I only did because there was such a need. And I physically couldn't, open up these gyms, in different states and what have you. That's very hard to navigate, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I had a newly diagnosed son who needed me and my daughter. So I did it. It was like ready, set, go. And I thought it took forever for us to sell our first franchise, but I guess it didn't. We sold our first one in less than a month. And I called my attorney. I'm like, we finally sold one. He's like, what are you talking about? It takes some people a year. I'm like, really? And that's when, again, like I said, we were processing going, oh my God, there is a need. There's a need for We Rock everywhere. And now here we are a decade later and surviving this global pandemic, everything that life brings us with challenges and growing as a company. And we're a family owned business. Okay. So you might look on, the internet and go, oh my God, we rock the spectrum. You're so big. You're this. No, my CMO is on here with me, Shane Stahl. Okay. Say hello. He's also my nephew. He's been with me right out of college. I grabbed him. I said, okay, I need you. You're mine. I need you to help me with, form an app, for our company. And then now he's the CMO of the company. So who would have thought? Obviously, my story goes back from 2009 when my son was diagnosed and there was nothing there for him. I mean, I'm a big crybaby when I talk about it because it brings me way back. But I was kicked out of several indoor playground areas. And not only did Gabriel suffer, but so did my daughter. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to put them in that situation. So
what did you do before, Dina, before you realized that, because I mean, this was really in your home first, right? I mean, you were looking for a solution, going to an occupational therapist, and you were trying to kind of recreate that environment in your own home. What were you doing as in your own business? Like, what was your occupation? What was your job
before We Rock? Well, it was nothing to do with what we're doing now. I had two high-end resale stores for 17 and a half years, and I loved it. I raised my daughter in there. It was amazing. I took her to work with me every day. And then after Gabriel was born, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. This is great. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. All he did was cry every day. Well, obviously, I couldn't bring him in and take care of him to my business, and it wasn't working. So I asked my older sister if she could run the clothing stores for me. I'm going to stay home and be with Gabriel. And that was about a year. But about 6 months into that is when I started We Rock. I tried to keep both businesses, but once you go into a We Rock the Spectrum, you don't want to leave. I mean, that feel-good feeling of seeing, all of these kids interact. And, autism has no face, right? You can't tell if a child is autistic. You can look at their behaviors or what have you. But truly, when you go into We Rock the Spectrum, there is, all that is fun. You see all these kids playing together. You don't go, oh my gosh, that kiddo has Down syndrome. This one must have autism. Nope. It's just a universal language. That's what I tell everyone, which is fun. Kids having fun together. And that's the most important thing. I mean, well, I'm sure you've seen on the news how autism has been talked, greatly about lately. And truly, like I said, people, I was not exposed to the autism community when I was younger. I don't know about you, but I was not.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, no, not at all.
Never. There was never special needs kids. So our mission, which I just, again, by my intuition alone, 15 years ago, matter of fact, next month, it's 15 years. We celebrate. Yes, it's awesome. Right. When we opened up Tarzana, was just inclusiveness. I knew that my nonverbal son at the time, if I put him in a room, which is where they wanted me to put him in a classroom with all kiddos where he was never going to progress. That's just logically what I thought. I'm like, you're telling me no, that I can't put him in a typical class with a companion? Okay, I'm going to hire an attorney. And I'm sorry, my son deserves to have an education just like your son or daughter do. Mm-hmm. And I was the first. I was one of the first in LA County to have a companion that I hired personally to be in the school system, which was, pretty unthought of then. The attorney was like, we're never going to win this. And of course, Valerie Vanneman was my attorney, who's very well known here in Los Angeles. And we did. And we did every year for 8 years.
That's great.
Yeah. Got to fight. You got to fight for what you believe in.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Most people adapt to the world, and you kind of decided to rebuild it in a sense that worked for you and worked for your family, and worked for your son.
That's exactly right.
When you went through that process, because most people, they start on this other end, right? They go, well, I'll just adapt. I'll just, change is happening, so I'll work with it. Mm-hmm. Why did you feel like going against the grain was a better solution for you?
As a mother, we have to listen to our intuition, right? As a business person, you definitely have to listen to your intuition, that gut feeling. You can't just think, with your heart, and you can't just think with your, your brain going, okay, logically, how's this going to happen? Well, I thought I'm all heart. Obviously now being a CEO of We Rock, okay, it's both, but this is how I was made up. And when Gabriel was diagnosed, it's like this lioness instinct, kicks in. And you're like, okay, what can I do? What can I do to make this world better for Gabriel? What can I do to change so Gabriel can be a part of our everyday life? Because I didn't want to do sacrifices for Sophia, his sister, and I didn't want Gabriel to miss out on anything either. So we just built it in our home. And, it's a very isolating and lonely diagnosis when you first get that, that feeling of like, oh my God, you look, oh God, my son's autistic. Oh God, he has where do I go? What do I do? Well, I maybe paused for, I'd say 24 hours. And then after that, I just dove in. I consulted with the best OT therapist, the best speech therapist, the best colorist. Okay. Because color affects our kiddos. A lot of things people don't understand, noise, sound. And that's how I built my first gym. I talked to all of them.
Why did you want to do that? Why did you want to build a gym? Why not just keep it in your home and maintain that environment, on a personal level, and continue to operate and run your retail stores?
Are you ready for this? So I've been interviewed for 14 years. Okay. I think my first interview was about a year after I opened. I've never had someone ask me that question. That is such a smart question. I love that. Can you believe that? I mean, Shane, right? Have you ever heard someone ask me that before? Never.
Good question.
I appreciate that. Now that I think about it, I wanted Gabriel to be social. I mean, yes, he had a sister, and his sister's very, very social, still is now, almost 21. But I wanted him to be able to interact with other kids, and he didn't have a voice then. So I needed to be a voice for him. And it just so happens where the first We Rock the Spectrum used to be a kids gym. Okay. Years ago, it was a kids gym for 30 years before I took it over. So I would rent out the space a couple times a week for Gabriel's OT to be in a larger area, than my home, or in a OT clinic. And I overheard the woman one day saying that she was looking to close up her business or sell her, database to somebody because she wanted to, have a family and start a family. Mm. And so again, that's when I went to my kid's father, and he's like, are you crazy? What do you know about a kid's gym? And I'm like, I don't. But again, I know what this has done for our family. So I actually paid the woman, for her database. And about 2 weeks later, of every day, 24 hours of construction, opened up the first We Rock. And that intuition of knowing that my child needed to be exposed to other people besides, of course, his sister, it's like right away when we opened up our doors, everyone heard about us. It was like, oh my God. And now looking at the autism community, I'm like, okay, I understand. It literally, it's all word of mouth. It goes around fast. So Autism Speaks heard about us, Generation, Rescue. There was everyone. I'm like, oh my God, it was a little bit overwhelming at first, but I thought, this is so exciting. And then of course I was a sponge learning from everyone. I mean, what a great opportunity this was for me. I also wanted to get out there in the workforce. Listen, I've always loved working. I'm a social person. I loved my clothing stores. So it was really for socially and emotionally for the whole family, not just for Gabriel, I think for all of us.
A lot of people go through this stage in life, and you've probably heard this before, that you got to help yourself before you help others. And when you were in that moment of working in your house, you've got your two other businesses that you're operating, and now you have this information about your son being diagnosed with autism. You're realizing, okay, these are other steps we have to take in our home, and how can we fix this? But we want him to be social. Were you at that point kind of because you're an entrepreneur, right? So naturally entrepreneurs get these bugs in their mind, and they start things, right? So were you kind of teetering on the fence where you're going, this doesn't exist anywhere else, and I want my son to be social, so I'll merge these two and we'll create a business out of it? Or was it more like, I just want to create a place and a space that's safe and works for him, and I know that there might be some cost for it, and if I don't make any money on it, so be it? What was the And it's hard for entrepreneurs to think that way, to be like, if I make money on something, so if I don't make money, so be it. I mean, most entrepreneurs are like, what's the downside? So what was it for you? Like, where did you sit on that fence?
I wanted to create a space where not just my son, where the whole family, where, my husband at the time, Sophia and Gabriel, we could all be together, okay, and have our happy place. And that couldn't just be our house. I felt like I was, suffocating there. I felt so isolated and alone. Gabriel was progressing, but what about me? Us as a woman, a man, we need other people, right? We need a lifeline. And I only opened up We Rock the Spectrum for my family. And literally I said to Tim, Gabriel and Sophia's father, I said, you know what? I go, even if I could just pay our bills, that's all I want to do. He's like, well, I hope you can do more than that, but okay. And I'm like, seriously, this is going to be, this is my feeling. I have this gut intuition that this is going to be so beautiful for our kids, for both of them. And Gabriel needs to be on this equipment all the time anyway. And then we can have our bedroom back, because we literally transformed our whole bedroom into a gym. And so I think that made him go, oh, okay. All right. That's maybe we should rent the place down the street. Yeah. But no, it was strictly for my family. Like I said, the effect that it had very quickly after that was all shock. And again, like I said, when that franchise developer said, oh my God, this is a great concept, that's when the light went ding. And I went, okay. So I've been focusing just on my kids. Entrepreneurial side kicks in. Let me call that attorney and see if this is something that maybe by chance. But again, I waited. I didn't do it right away. I waited. I needed to take care of my family. And also, when you're a franchisor, I've learned greatly much. I've learned as I've gone. I didn't know about anything about franchising when I started this. I just thought, okay, this is a cool idea. Maybe other people will want to do it. I mean, truthfully, 15 years ago or 12 years ago, now that we've been franchising, that was my way of thinking. But no, we needed a business model that we can say that, you know what, take this business model and we know that you can make X amount of dollars for it. Okay. On average, you could even do more if you want to implement more things, then let's go for it. And that's what I did. So 12 years ago in November.
What was your initial, so you had this database too in the first location. What was the message that you were sending out to those previous customers that were there? Or you got that database, right? So that's kind of like the gold that you can go ahead and utilize and repurpose. And some of those things some of that list, I'm sure, was really, really cold, and you had to warm them up. But at the same time, you're warming up a new group of people, or the same group of people, with a new message. What was that message to try and bring people in? Because if I'm listening to this and I'm looking for franchises to invest in, and I'm going, I really like this concept about helping children who need a place to be where they can be with others. How does that message resonate? Because if it's one, what you're doing is you're a very niche market, like you're very hyper focused on, kind of a singular group of people that need help and need that support. But at the same time, if I'm a potential franchisee and I'm listening to this podcast and I'm going, what is it that makes it unique? And how am I going to have a message out there that resonates with the population? Right? I mean, has this group done their research, which I'm sure you guys have? Have they done their research on making sure that a certain market has enough people to support that would generate enough revenue to make this a viable business in this market? And what is the saturation rate? Like, how many other businesses out there would do something like this? You really don't have, you're creating a new market category. I mean, you've already done that. So how do you understand all that? Right? Because I don't know if there's data out there. I'm just speculating that there is.
There's tons of data out there. But when I first opened up We Rock, I didn't look at any data. I looked at my family and what my family needed. You go into franchising, you look, okay, so how many kids are being diagnosed with autism? How many kids are being diagnosed with Down syndrome? How many kids are being diagnosed with other neuro and physical diversities? That's what I looked at. And, but when I first contacted, as you said, the database that I paid this, woman for, it was just we opened up an indoor playground facility for all kids. For all kids, what does that mean? What's called We Rock the Spectrum. Spectrum, I have an autistic son. Does this have to, people were like frantic. They were like, oh my God, is this for, kids on the spectrum also? And like I said, the response was incredible. The response was beautiful. So almost overwhelming because like I said, I had no idea that I'd open up, a business that no one else had before. It was, like I said, it was completely for that intuition of this is what myself and my family need. But when you're franchising, that's a whole another ball game. Right now, 1 out of 6 kids are affected personally from some form of ASD. That can be ADHD, ADD, sensory processing disorder. So that's 1 out of 6 worldwide. That's our market. Wow. And their siblings, right? And their friends, because, for the first several years of my life, and Shane knows this on the personal side, all the holidays, any functions, they were at my house because I couldn't bring Gabriel somewhere else.
All he did was,
cry, throw tantrums. So, as a businesswoman, I thought, oh my God, okay, I need to know what I'm doing here. So again, after consulting these professionals and going, okay, so I have these 12 pieces of required equipment. These are it. I'm seeing how they're working these last couple of years for these kids. This is what's going to be part of the franchise fee. How we sell this is we are the only inclusive indoor facility for all kids. So
is there ever a concern? First of all, I didn't know there was 1 in 6. That seems very high. Is it higher in the US than it is in other countries? Or are there other areas of the world that have a higher number?
Oh yeah. There's other countries. I mean, in the country, India, it's even higher.
Really?
Than here. Oh yeah. So, we're actually trademarked across the world to have We Rocks. We're in 8 countries right now, but, the number that I gave you, 1 out of 6 is across the board. So autism that out there now, it says 1 out of 31 kids are diagnosed autistic. Okay. That doesn't include the kids that are diagnosed with ADHD, the kids that are diagnosed, with sensory processing disorder, which is completely different from someone who's completely autistic, right? They have behavioral issues. They have, issues to, light, noise, sound, everything. So it's very different. But yeah, 1 out of 6 kids are diagnosed with some form of spectrum-like disorder. And that is worldwide. That's worldwide.
Do you have, maybe Shane has this number. Do you know the number in the US itself?
I don't know the exact number in the US itself. We do have a lot of this data on our website, which I have wonderful people like in Shane's marketing department who are continuously getting, the latest numbers and statistics for the public so they can see it. But if you're talking about as in using that as a vital part of what's going to make someone a great franchisee or be successful in an area, We Rock will work wherever there's families, wherever there's children, and We Rock the Spectrum will work. And we know this now.
Only reason why I asked that question was because the majority of the listeners are US based.
Oh, of course. No, absolutely. But in the States, I will tell you this, except for the country of Australia, which we have several locations in, the US has the most and incredible programs and grants and, early start programs all the way to, adulthood for supporting our community. Okay. Now every state's different. Our state here in California, it's the best. It has the most for our kids. It's called the Regional Center, which is our state funded program. But now, most recently, we're becoming a provider through the Medicaid waiver. So this is huge. Wow. This is huge. So then again, it reaches not just the special needs community. It also helps the families who are in need, who are low income as well. So again, we don't want any child or family to be left behind. That's our motto. Yeah. That's our target.
So before I deviated my own question with another question, the question I was going to ask earlier was, and I think this is an important one, especially for families who are bringing in their children. And because the audience that, even though you're in a niche, you have an audience group, you just named off, other conditions that are diagnosed. Do you find that maybe other parents come in and they go on either end, right? Ones that are more severe and ones that are less severe. The ones that are less severe going, I don't know if I want to have my children here because if they were, maybe they're going to cause problems. And ones that are more severe, maybe they might be thinking, I don't know if I want to have my children in here because if I do have them in here, the number of other children that are here could create more problems for them. Do you ever run into that?
Great questions. But that's how we created We Rock. We were mindful of everything that you just said. That's why you'll see that there's no colors. There's no big, colors in the gym, right? The walls are all Swiss coffee. That's required, trade dress in our franchise. My son, if there was red, bright colors like red, pink, neon yellow, he wouldn't go near it. Oh no, that was like stop. So again, we were mindful of all of that. So yes, we considered that. But I'm not sure if you know our slogan, our tagline, we're finding a place you never have to say, I'm sorry. When I met with my franchise attorney, I said, I just want to create a place where I'm not saying I'm sorry all the time for my son. And he goes, that's it. And I go, what do you mean that's it? You got to trademark that. That's going to be your slogan. I'm like, okay, you're crazy. No, I'm not going to do that. Whatever. But I did. I had a friend of mine paint it on the wall, finding a place you never have to say, I'm sorry. And oh my God. Okay.
It's home, because so many parents are in that scenario, right? So many.
Exactly. So when people walk in and they have a child with any kind of neuro or physical diversity, they look at that and they're like, okay, we're at home. We're good. People who have neurotypical children, they're like, okay, sometimes, there are those odd cases, right, Shane? I'm sure Shane has run, gyms all over the world as well, and opened up locations in several different countries. And we do have sometimes those parents that come in still, right, Shane, and go, Spectrum, like, what is this? Why are you guys like letting that child over there, have a tantrum and not going over there and helping him? And Shane, I'll let you answer that one. What do you tell people?
Well, we're a place where you don't have to apologize for who you are as a person. A neurodiversity is just one additional thing that makes you unique. I always tell parents, we have tall people, short people, narrow people, wide people, people of all different skin tones, and neurodiversities are just that thing that make us unique. And you shouldn't have to apologize for who you are as a person. I mean this jokingly. I'm a little bit vertically gifted, as we like to call it. Like, what would it be if I were to walk around and apologize all the time for being tall? That's what these parents are having to deal with on a daily basis, having to apologize for just who their kid is as a person. So that tagline really we built our community around that tagline, truly. Because I've worked at gyms where I've talked to a parent at the front desk. It could be the most busy grand opening ever. And I point to that sign. Parents are breaking down in tears because you could see the weight physically fall off their shoulders. And they're just happy to find that community where I can let my guard down finally. It's kind of like when you're tensing a muscle for so long and you're finally able to relax it. It's really a beautiful thing. And I don't have kids myself yet, keyword there. But what gets me all the time is the parents, and just the parents being able to find that relief. Kids are going to have fun. And, especially for our kiddos on the spectrum, they're finally able to have fun and not feel like this huge sensory overload, but just the look and the feel of the parents to have that community finally. That's what gets me every single time.
Yeah, it's gratitude. The gratitude is endless, okay, that we get from the public. But then it's the opportunity, as you said, to educate the neurotypical community. So say Mr. and Mrs. Smith say, why aren't you helping that kiddo? Well, that's actually little Joey over there, and he's autistic. And you see that his mom is over there, and she's just kind of keeping him safe. She's not holding him down. She's just keeping him in a safe area. But once he's regulated and calms his body down, he's going to hop on that bolster swing, and he's probably going to end up playing with your child. And all of a sudden, 5 or 10 minutes go by, boom, it happens. And they're like, oh my God, so this is an inclusive indoor playground area? Yeah. Oh my God, this is amazing. That's great. Because when people are interested and wanting to come on board and be a franchisee of We Rock, I always tell them there is no price tag that you can put on raising your family and your children in an inclusive environment. Listen, I consider myself a good mom. I don't call myself a great mom because that means there's no room for growth, right?
Yeah.
But raising these children, my children, in an inclusive environment every day of their lives has molded them into these most incredible two human beings that I've ever known in my life. They are loving. They are kind. They don't see anything. They don't see color. They don't see physical or neurodiversities. They just see the human being. Okay. And again, like I said, there's no price tag on that. And that's truly, if you talk to our owners, they're going to say that to you. They're going to go, oh my God, what this has done for my own children is incredible. I mean, my nonverbal son at 10 years old was volunteering in our gym and saying to this other little kiddo, don't worry, Mikey, I have autism too. He was nonverbal, the kiddo at the time. By the end of that summer in camp, Gabriel and he were singing. Okay, the Lion King song on the mic. I mean, it's unbelievable. As a parent, you have these beautiful moments where you're, there for the first walking, the first words and what have you. That comes much later for children with neuro, and physical diversities. Sophia, my daughter, was talking, said hi at 9 months. But to be able to now, in a much bigger way, be a part of other families' first moments, it's a privilege what we do to be a part of that. It's a privilege. So I would say the vast majority of people that come into We Rock, well, they're either parents like myself, okay, and Shane, who are personally affected by knowing someone, okay, who has autism or other like spectrum-like disorders, or they're a professional in the field, or they are also, they're tired of like the corporate world. They want something, they want a passion project, and that's what We Rock is. 1000%. It's all passion. So if you don't have the passion for it, you want to go into this for the money, it's never going to work for you.
Well, we're going to talk about money here for a second, because it's important. If somebody does get into this, right, you might be able to support your children or get into this passion because you see the value in it, right? The people that it helps, and how it really elevates that community.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge that they might face is they want to make sure they keep their store open. They want to be able to do it without being in a position that they have to go get a second job or get a third job to just run their passion, because that burns them out. And then again, it goes back to the thing I said earlier, which is you got to take care of yourself before you take care of others. And if they're not able to take care of themselves mentally and physically and financially, then they're in a position where they might have to close a business like that. So number one, what is kind of like the general expectation that someone might be able to come away with a good income if they're running it themselves?
Well, I will tell you this. Listen, being a business owner isn't easy. Let me just tell you, to yourself and everyone out there who might be watching or listening, it's not easy. And that's why, again, with our franchise, with our mission and what we do, you need to be personally affected, either yourself or be an educator or a therapist in the field, because otherwise people aren't going to trust you.
Yeah.
So our business model, we can say, you know what, here you go. Listen, you can make anywhere from $10,000 a month up to $100,000 a month. That's the range of We Rock. And that is just being a smart business person. Shane, being our head of the marketing department, he has a group and a team where literally he's there 24/7, because this man is like myself and lives, eats, and breathes and loves this mission, not only because he's personally affected by his nephew, but also just has seen, again, the miracles that have happened. But he's there supporting this ownership. Again, like I said, every day of the week with new and great ideas. I listen to my ownership. We listen as a team. I'm only as good as the team that I have. I used to do it all on my own. Guess what? I'll tell everyone out there, you can't do it on your own. Okay. You're only good as the people you have supporting you. If you want to be successful in a business, guess what? Get on social media. Again, having this marketing department, we see a franchisee, okay, that's say they're making, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000 a month. And we know they can at least be at 50. And we know, listen, many of these families that come on board are young families like myself. When I opened up We Rock, well, this is like a heavy on my shoulders, right? Listen, I got to make sure these people are making a living for their family, right? To survive. So we supply them with anything and everything from an app. An app was, added within the last 5 years. I don't know if you saw, we were also deemed essential during COVID. We were not shut down. We were shut down for a very short time. And then our nonprofit kicked in. My brother rocks the Spectrum Foundation. And we funded all of the gyms in the U.S. and they gave free childcare to all the first responders. So that gave us at corporate enough time to look at all the state mandates and find out where we can be deemed essential. If we didn't service a special needs community, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you today. It saved us. That's what deemed us essential, that the special needs community needed us. So, listen, not everyone is an entrepreneur or a business person, and they might come on board, yes, and go, okay, this is really too hard. So if that happens, we sell their location to somebody else. But I'm never and continue to never be in this for the money. That's not what I am. Our royalties are less than any franchise, okay, that I know out there and that my franchise developer sells. We are the lowest. We've actually gone down and royalties have not gone up because again, I want to pay it forward to my community. As long as I can pay my bills and keep a roof over my family's head, we're good. My job is to also not just help our community, but to help our ownership. Again, as you said, survive, put food on the table. And we have our owners, like I said, who are out there who are crushing it. And following the corporate, following the corporate way. If you don't follow the franchise that you bought into, whatever franchise you're looking at, you buy into a business model. If you don't follow that business model, you're not going to be successful. But what's great about us, we're not a cookie cutter franchise. So I don't know what works in your city. I don't even know where are you, Michael? Oh, you are. Okay. So I don't know what works in your city or another state. So we're very, we have a big range here. We have the 12 pieces of required equipment. That's what we purchase for you from your franchise fee. But then in your gym, if you want to have a cafe, if you want to have a hair salon, I didn't get my hair done for 4 years when my son was diagnosed. I couldn't leave him alone anywhere. So cafe, chiropractors, we have people who are putting a dentist in their gyms. I mean, it's incredible. And we will always say yes, okay, as a franchise, if it's catering to the entire community. We'll never say no to our owners, ever. So I think that's really also what guarantees.
That's a differentiator. That's unique.
Success. Exactly.
So roughly how is it when you purchase a membership? Are you purchasing a membership for the family, or are you purchasing a membership for the single child that is there? And if so, typically how many, on average, how many children are members of a We Rock?
Shane, I'll let you take that. He's the number guru.
We have different ways that you could access the gym. Like the main thing that we offer is something called Open Play that could be purchased as a single visit option, could be purchased as a package or a membership. So we have options for families depending on how often they use the gym. Particularly for our kiddos on the spectrum that really need it, they really gravitate towards the memberships, and they're there every single day sometimes. But for some families, and what tends to be the highest seller are the packages, because the packages give some more flexibility to the parents away from this monthly membership model where, you have a full year to use this punch card, for lack of a better description. So if you go on a family vacation, or if your kiddo gets sick, if you move, exactly, you still have it and it is available to use. So, we provide the options, just like how we provide options for kiddos of any ability level, so we definitely provide those exponential incentives. Like if you do some of those higher ticket items, a lot of our memberships in our gyms have, the added benefit of a bring a friend free day, or, you get certain discounts off of, our party packages, or, the Rock Shop, which is our retail toy store in all of our facilities. So kind of a long answer to the question, but, we provide options for the usage of the gym. But the important thing is that families, regardless of their income level, have access to this equipment, because, Dina could chime in more on this too, but it is very, very expensive to have a kid on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
What are the metrics? It's from the age of 0 to 18, it's over $1 million.
Yeah. You want to get your child to be independent. It's $1 million. And we're in that already. And Gabriel's not 18 yet. But Shane's right. Listen, for $99, you can come in and play as much as you want in my Re-Rock. Okay, that's my monthly membership. Or you can pay $16 for a one-time visit. But you buy 12 Open Play visits and it brings it down to $10. Okay, you get a 10-pack for $120. So we really want to cater to everyone. And again, also, we take these state-funded programs. Like we have here in California, the regional center, where the parent doesn't pay at all. The program does. The program pays us. So that's the biggie now also. And it's also the big thing that now we're seeing shift as for franchisees. It's my job, again, to give my ownership, my franchisees and community as much as I can, right? Not just for, financially speaking, but for their comfort, inside a gym, physically, emotional, their well-being. So now we've hired someone in corporate, most recently, just within this month, who's going to be completely focusing just on the Medicaid waivers and grants for our franchisees. We noticed that we're seeing these gym owners who are, like I said, you got a gym owners making $18,000, you got a gym owners making, over $100,000 a month. What's the differences here? They've tapped into those state-funded programs. So, you become a new business owner as a franchisee, you feel, a little overwhelmed. Oh my God, how do I even start this? And it is overwhelming to dive in. And just even looking at the Medicaid waiver itself, you're like, oh my God, well, we fall into that category, that one. So I decided, you know what? It's my job. I got to help my owners. Let's do it. So I've just recently hired someone, and it'll soon be a team of people. we're helping in every state, every owner to get on those state funded programs. That's really what guarantees the financial success of, that location for the franchisee. But most importantly is it's catering to the entire and opening up an entire world to this community that couldn't otherwise, and that's really what we're about first and foremost. But as you said, okay, as a franchise, got to make money, right? And I tell my owners this, it's so funny, especially my franchise candidates. We have hundreds of inquiries that come in every month. Michael, we're very lucky for that. We don't advertise. It's our website, website and social media. That's all we do. And I only meet maybe, I'd say 5% of them because we have a vetting process through my franchise developer. And again, you can't just be someone who likes our concept to come on board with We Rock. We know that those owners aren't successful and we've had to resell those gyms. So it's all done by, trial and error, of course. But I tell my owners, listen, it's okay. It's okay. I'm still going to like you and think you're a wonderful person if you want to know how much money you can make. I mean, that's a business. It's a business for you. And that's another thing. We're giving moms and dads who might not otherwise an opportunity to have a career, because I needed to be with my son when he had all of his therapies. When I opened up my Re-Rock here in Tarzana, I moved all of my son's therapies to inside the gym. And oh my God, it was like a light came on. It was like an awakening. It was like the Robin Williams, film, my favorite, what was it, like Awakening? Is that the Awakenings, right? It was literally just like that. It was like, I put my hand on Gabriel's shoulder and it was like, blah, all this language came out. I'm like, oh my God, I have chills thinking about it. And it's like very warm here, but that's truly, it takes me back to the beginning. And when a speech therapist came into the gym for the first time, Gabriel was jumping on the trampoline and I didn't even know that he could say these words. And all of a sudden he's singing the ABCs and he's saying, hi, I want cookie. And I'm like, what the, oh my God. And just again, having his sensory system regulated while getting the therapy was unbelievable. That was remarkable.
So I only have 3 more questions for you. I mean, I have a lot more questions, but I'm limiting this otherwise this will go on forever. So, first of all, not really a question, but I was telling Shane this when we spoke earlier. So in my gyms, the fitness gyms that I had, this is back in 2009, I had implemented hyperbaric therapy chambers. And no one understood it. Nobody understood why I had them. And I remember I had such a hard time marketing them because I didn't know how to approach it. We were a fitness gym, so people coming in there to use a hyperbaric therapy bed, they didn't understand, like, what is this? Why would I use it? So there's a lot of education, to your point, even with your facilities. But the reason why I did this was because I had someone an acquaintance of mine who I think I need to introduce you to. Her name's Shannon, and I won't say her last name because I don't know if I have approval to go ahead and do that on here. But she introduced me to this idea of hyperbaric therapy. I knew of hyperbaric therapy when I was in college because I was a scuba diver and I understood the bends and how all that worked and why you can go through hyperbaric chambers to remove those air bubbles in your brain. But there's been a ton of research on this for years. And I think I need to get you in touch with Shannon, even if it's just to expose the idea of what else might exist. But what is the future outlook? Because I know that hyperbaric therapy helps with autism. It helps with a lot of other things. And is there, what's the future vision for your centers and how you plan to grow them?
You mean is in regards to
further assistance to help those that are on the spectrum to make their lives a little better or a little bit more comfortable?
Oh, if you came to me and said, Michael, if you said, Dina, I'd love to put one of these in your gym, you've got this extra, therapy room here. Can I do it? I would say yes. If there is 0.01% chance that it can help another child, okay, with neuro or physical diversities, I would always say yes. So again, like I said, that's a great part of what we do. Now, I have heard most recently, actually, Shane, don't I have a meeting with someone, regarding I have a meeting, I think, with someone next week regarding her business with hyperbaric chambers. So there is so much
watch it be
knowledge.
Funny that'd be.
That would be crazy, right? But there's now data. There's now data to where, say, someone like Shannon or this woman that I'm going to meet with can go, look, Dina, Here's the numbers. Again, as you said, Dina, how do you sell your franchises if you don't have the data? You have to have the data. So now that I'm back in 2009, I mean, you were very forward thinking. Good for you. I mean, to have those inside your facilities. I think that's
I just got my information from someone else who then I just happened to have the information. That was all.
Well, no, that wasn't all. You give yourself more credit than that. You put it to use. You put it in your businesses, which is incredible. People need to take a chance. You want to be successful at what you do and helping families, and also personally successful financially and taking care of your family, then you need to take those chances. So I think that's dynamite. But yes, now if someone said, I had the room to put one in, I would in a second. We are, like I said, chiropractor work is like the newest thing also. I took my son to the chiropractor for the first time. I was so scared. I thought, oh my God, okay, I'd heard great things about it. It's supposed to be great for our kids, getting them in line and, again, relaxing their bodies. I want you to imagine this. Okay. So a kiddo who hasn't had therapy, okay, and goes out there in the real world, okay, and all the stimuli around, okay, it feels like snakes crawling on their body. That's how it feels to them. Okay. So having OT therapy, having, physical therapy, being on all the sensory equipment calms and relaxes their body. So I'd heard about chiropractor. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take you, Gabriel. He was on board. I couldn't believe it because he used to be so rigid. I'd say probably up until this last year. He went in there so scared. He came out. He was so relaxed. He was, he has a disfluency as well, my son. He didn't stutter once. Okay. Wow. Once that day. He was unbelievably changed from this. And again, I have this little itty bitty gym. So Shane knows, okay, I don't want anyone to go out of business, but if the place next door, leaves, or the place to the right or the left leaves, I would absolutely open up like more therapy rooms and such to these kind of opportunities. And again, as I told you, we encourage our owners to do that. We encourage them, whatever you think that will help, support your community, do it. Do it.
That's a very flexible franchise model. Most franchises, they're very rigid in the way that they run their business because of the branding and everything that they need to have as, it's very systematic. Mm-hmm. But it seems like because of the market that you've opened up into, it's almost like you kind of have to have it, right? Because there's a broad range of different individuals that will be coming in there. And if it means that they can support one more person, then
do it.
Then that's great. And there's no room for error, really.
Exactly. And Michael, every state is different. So, so the states that don't have the kind of support, that we do have here in California, they need to do more there. They need to have things more accessible to them. Many of our franchises also have therapy clinics inside them now. It's incredible. OT, PT, behavioral therapy, ABA therapy, they have them inside the gyms, and they're doing amazingly well because they just parents don't have access to it otherwise. So
I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions here.
Sure.
I want you to think about them. So Gabe is how old now? 17?
17. I'll be 18 in June 25th. Okay.
So the beauty of these shows is that the video and the audio is, once we record these things, they're out there. We're not taking them down. Gabe's going to be listening to this, and maybe 10 years from now, he re-listens to it or listens to it for the first time. We don't know when he'll listen to it. But when he does, what do you hope he hears?
That he was and still is the beacon of hope for his community, for our community. That people... So this is when I get emotional. Sorry. But it definitely takes you back to the beginning because Gabriel's first evaluation, they said he would not go to a typical school. They said he would not be able to drive. He would not be able to be independent on his own. I'm like, who are you to tell me what my kid is going to do and not do? Yeah. This kiddo, okay, has surpassed anything that I could ever imagine for him. I think the biggest disservice we do as parents of any child is we think, okay, well, if my child can just be there, we put these expectations. Well, Gabriel has passed all of those. So what I would say to my son in the future is, you did this. It was all you. And I'm so proud of you. And continue to being brave, continue to having that courage and to giving other people that moment of grace and hope going, oh my God, they can be like me too, mama. This is what he says. No, he gets it. He knows that he's famous. He's Rock Boy. He's the OG Rock Boy. And before, he didn't get it for years when he was little. He'd talk about, oh, I want to go on YouTube. I want to do this. I want to do that. But now he gets it. Mama, I give other people hope. I give other moms and dads hope. I give other kids hope that guess what? They can get their driver's license like me. Might have taken Gabriel 4 times to pass his permit as written because of his anxiety. But guess what? He did it. And he was back in 12 minutes when taking his driving test. 12 minutes. He got one wrong. Okay. Again, if I would have listened to these people, 12 years ago, what they said that my son could do or could not do, he would never be. He got 5 acceptance letters to colleges. He got a scholarship to LMU and just accepted it last year and he's going. So, yeah.
So another one here, another personal question. Now I'm a person of faith. I believe wholeheartedly in Jesus and God, and whatever your religion or whoever's listening, whatever your religion or belief systems or spirituality, whatever it is that you believe in, maybe you have a different belief system and that's okay. But at the end of the day, I believe that there are other forces at play.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, what do you feel was the accelerant for this? What caused these things to happen? Do you feel like it was just luck? Or
in the company?
Because you tell the story,
mm-hmm.
and by chance, someone walks into your door to want a franchise, and by chance, you happen to sell your first one, without any real marketing or hard work, so to speak, right? Comparatively to other franchises. And by chance, your family has gotten involved in this and has helped grow this thing. And by chance, you happen to be in 8 countries and 150 plus locations. And
nothing's by chance, Michael. I'll tell you that. Nothing.
So tell me, yes, please tell me what was it?
Well, Dina, how do you run your company? God, family, and we rock. That's how I prioritize my life. Okay. God, family, and we rock. For me, we're more spiritual as a family. I wanted to expose my children what I was born into, which was Judaism, and they've both gone to a Jewish school, but we're not a quote unquote religious per se family. God is wherever. I can go to your church. I can go to a temple. I can go wherever. And again, I'm going to feel God there. I know that there's a higher power out there who's kept me going. It's not an easy road to become a franchisor, let alone a franchisee, but a franchisor, especially not knowing what you were doing, like I didn't, 12 years ago. But you have to have that faith. You have to have faith that you feel it, it's going to work. And let me tell you, along this road, the pandemic, before the pandemic, we don't realize what a big part greed is in this world. And there's always going to be so many things they can do it and try to come after you. And you've got attorney fees, millions of dollars. People don't realize. They think, oh, I can become a franchisor. Oh, no big deal. Oh, no, we're talking $1 million to become a franchisor with everything. But I know that I'm still here. I know that this company is where it is today is because of my team. Okay. And because all of us have kept the faith that we know if we hung in there, we'd be where we are today. And the last 2 years, the company has blown up. Coming out of COVID, right? Businesses, it can go one way or the other. It's not going to work or it is going to work. We have taken off. We opened up 40 new locations last year. We've opened up, I don't know, Shane, it feels like half of that already this year, right?
Yeah.
But I know by the grace of God, I know that he's there beside me in all my decisions that I make. So yes, very much a woman of spirituality and know that my higher power is why I'm here today. And it hasn't been easy, just being married, and having a special needs child. It's difficult. It's really, really difficult, and how you navigate that and everything. So very much here, not just myself and again, not just my team. We have someone looking out for us. Absolutely.
Well, without a doubt, it still requires work. So,
oh yeah, got to do the work.
Yeah, I don't think any of it is done. Just sitting back. So,
oh no,
and saying mantras and affirmations in the morning. I don't think that's the only thing that makes it work. So,
no, you've got to work hard, but knowing that you're not alone. knowing that, you know what, people say, oh, when are you done? When are you done, Dina? Like, Gabriel and Sophia's father would say, so when are we done? I'm like, we're never done. That's like asking a soldier at war, when are you done fighting for your country? Right. I'm never going to be done. This is what God chose me to do. Gabriel chose me to be his mother. And I'll never forget my next door neighbor saying this to me before she passed away. She said that. She said, Gabriel chose you to be his mother, not just for him, but for all these hundreds of thousands of families now, Dina, that you're helping out there in the world. And that's what stays with me every day. And this is why I don't get nervous or scared or, have fear. No, I just, again, want everyone out there to have access to We Rock. And I want our owners or franchisees to be successful. So that's our job, to help them.
I love it. I love what you've built. I love what you guys are building and what you continue to build. I think the growth for your brand. Unfortunately, you're probably going to get competitors.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a good thing, right? Let's prepare serve. But really love what you guys are doing. Where can everyone find you? Where can they get involved? If they're interested in becoming part of a franchisee or part of your business, where can they go to? We're going to also place a link for them to go to directly.
Great.
In the show notes. But if they just want to go right to you, where do they go?
They go to www.wrtsfranchise.com, or they can go to werockthespectrum.com if they want to have a more intimate look at, say, the OG We Rock. That's my link to my personal gym to actually see that. And then you click on it, interest in a franchise, and then it tells you everything about the mission, how we started. And again, like I said, we're a family-owned company, and I love that. And you know what? My franchise about that. I'd say, Shane, I don't know, 90% of the owners at least have our personal cell phone numbers. Mm-hmm. So we can always be reached. But out there, for you newbies out there, if you have any kind of interest, that's how you find us, is on our franchise.
I really love it. Both thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity and spreading, the word about inclusion. This is April. It's Autism. We don't say Autism Awareness Month because the awareness is already there. We say it's Autism Acceptance Month. Okay. And so we appreciate you having us on, and also in April, because everyone knows we're out there trying to spread the word. So thank you for doing your part. We appreciate you.
Thank you for jumping on. And all right, both of you, thank you so much for being on. And as everyone knows, my children are always saying, sharing is caring, especially my 5-year-old daughter. When she wants things from her older brothers, she will try to get those by saying sharing is caring. But really, if this does not maybe suit you directly, but if there are other people that in your network and you're listening to this or you're watching this and you go, man, this is really something amazing. I think it's amazing. And if you think it's something amazing, you feel others could support other individuals or serve others out there that need this, please go to their website, go to the links, and definitely share this. I appreciate everyone who's listened to this show, especially all the way to the tail end. As always, I'll see you guys on the flip side.